I am honored to share this wonderful evening with our elected officials, civic, religions, community, our business leaders, our outstanding inductees, and all of you special guests. Welcome to the 2018 Utah Sports Hall of Fame event. I'd ask you first of all to silence your phones. And hopefully it will be so interesting tonight, nobody's going to leave and nobody's going to look at a text, because this is one phenomenal event coming up tonight, and we're pleased to have you here. It's time to meet the outstanding inductees, the 5 of them, and to help us do that in a grand style is our MC, in his 14th season, the voice of the Utah Jazz, Craig Bolerjack.
Oh, good evening. Go Jazz. Yeah, that feels good. We're just a few hours away from playing for real, but tonight is the moment that we've all been waiting for. Norma, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here and be a part of this incredible evening. We are about to hear or see the procession of Utah greats, the Hall of Fame inductees and their flag bearers. We have so many people here that I know that want to do and make applause, but I just ask you, hold on to those applause, because I'll give you plenty of time to do that as the night continues on. So let's get started. And I know there's trouble in the back brewing as we see carrying the flag of the Utah Jazz as our own jazz bear, a close friend of our first inductee. Wouldn't you know it? Wouldn't you know it? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome 2018 Utah Sports Hall of Fame inductee Gail Miller, entering to the music of Jorge Quintero's 300 Violin Orchestra. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello and welcome Gail Miller. Now, carrying the flag of the U.S. Olympic team are Jake Nicholas, Madeline, and Michaela Smith, the children of our next inductee. Ladies and gentlemen, a big welcome to our 2018 Utah Sports Hall of Fame inductee, Denise Parker, entering now to the music of John Williams' Olympic fanfare and theme. Ladies and gentlemen, the sharpshooter, Denise Parker. Next, carrying the flag of the University of Utah, Susan Rydalch, the wife of our next inductee. And ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 2018 Utah Sports Hall of Fame inductee, Ron Rydalch, entering to the music of the University of Utah fight song. Ladies and gentlemen, Ron Rydalch. Now carrying the flag of the U.S. Paralympic team are Larry and Scott Schlappi, the father and brother of our next inductee, along with his close friend, Jeff Griffin. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome 2018 Utah Sports Hall of Fame inductee, Mike Schlappi, entering to the music of John Williams' Olympic fanfare and theme. Ladies and gentlemen, there he is, Mike Schlappi. Carrying the flag of Weber State University is Corbin Gage Schuffenhauer, the son of our next inductee. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome 2018 Utah Sports Hall of Fame inductee, Bill Schuffenhauer, entering to the music of John Williams' The Call of the Champions. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Schuffenhauer. Great applause. You can take a seat. Oh boy, guess who? It's trouble. It's the bear. I need that. That feels good. A little on the right arm. There you go. Yeah, feels good, pal. Oh, money? No, later. Yeah, later. Good to see you. Give Bear a hand, too. Thank you, buddy. And before we have dinner tonight, we are very honored to have an acclaimed tenor soloist, Brian Stuckey, who continues to distinguish himself as an interpreter of opera and song. His recent debuts, it's quite a resume, includes the San Francisco Symphony, the Houston Symphony, and how about the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, where he gave a performance of Beethoven's Christ on the Mount of Olives. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, Brian Stuckey.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Brian. Terrific, terrific. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back with the rest of the program. Enjoy your dinner, and we'll have a fun night ahead. Thank you.
Bowler Jack, I can't call you Bowler Jack or Craig. You're Bowler to me, so you're going to get that, okay? Bowler graduated from Kansas State, and then he started his broadcasting career actually in Kansas, in Topeka, Kansas, really. And then he came to Salt Lake, and he was here from 85 to 98. Now, as the softball coach at Utah, I actually got to meet you at that time, if you remember. And he was the sports anchor for NBC, which was KSL affiliate at that time. And he anchored the sports beat. He did play-by-play at BYU for football and basketball. And then he broke our hearts. He left. And he went to ESPN, where he again called and broadcasted a lot of college basketball and football and did play-by-play and commentating. Did championships, be it the NIT, be it the NC2As, Liberty Bowl, and so on. He moved from there to CBS, where again he continued to call a lot of championships, men's basketball, gymnastics, freestyle skiing. How do you broadcast freestyle skiing? And he hosted the CBS Sports Desk at the time, and then he later, after 13 years with CBS, he became the lead play-by-play announcer for the Big 12 and Pac-12 on Fox Sports. But then he saw the light, and he decided to come back to Salt Lake. And I'm sure timing and everything is everything, Bowler, as he became the Jazz's second announcer. He brought his booming voice and his dimple and his national and diverse pedigree on how to do things back to the Jazz. And we all enjoy hearing you broadcast. Not to short your Bowler, but he's received several awards, which I just didn't enumerate all of them, and he gives back all the time to other organizations like ourselves and others, and we certainly appreciate that. So tonight, we're honored to have Bowler here to help us honor these 5 inductees.
Thank you, Norma. I think that resume means I've been around a long time. I get, but I sure appreciate this state. It changed my life. Met my wife. I'd like to introduce her. Sharon is here at the front table as well. Sharon. But I wouldn't trade a thing. Amazing. 1985 was just a blink of an eye ago. But to be with the Utah Jazz is a blessing. The Miller family, Gail, thank you so much. Kim, your family's great, and it's an absolute pleasure to be where I am, and hopefully we bring a championship down State Street, or Maine, or both, very soon. Very, very soon. At this time, let's get the program rolling and have a good time tonight. We have so many incredible individuals to honor. First, I'd like to honor, in alphabetical order, our 5 distinguished inductees comprising the class of 2018. The 5 inductees will be presented tonight a commemorative plaque and also a Hall of Fame ring or pendant by Norma Carr, president of the Utah Sports Hall of Fame Foundation and president-elect Doug Toole. Each inductee has been assigned sponsors for the Utah Sports Hall of Fame Board of Directors, and we'll see those individuals as well tonight. Well, we're going to start this evening off with a bang, because our first inductee really doesn't need an introduction. Gail Miller, giant in our city, arguably has done more for Salt Lake City and the state of Utah than any other woman in the state's history. She and the late Larry H. Miller were a driving, and I mean a driving force in Utah's business world in the past half century. In a sports context, she's the owner of the Utah Jazz of the NBA. But I think we'll all agree tonight her influence goes far beyond basketball. Gail's move to place the Utah Jazz franchise in a legacy trust ensures that this franchise will be a permanent community asset, just as her late husband always envisioned it. Let's get to know her. She's a Utah native and a West High alum. Gail's attitude of giving back to this community is prevalent in her everyday life. The Miller legacy revolves around giving back, as evidenced in supporting a wide range of charitable, educational, and humanitarian causes. Now, that includes providing jobs to more than 10,000 employees. She has been described, and I will agree, as a jewel of the community. Her philanthropic inclination has manifested itself, her son Steve added this insight. There's no pretense about her. That's what makes her special. She's not one thing here and then another one here or there. She is simply Gail Miller in every setting, easy to be around, and most importantly, I think we'll agree, genuine. It's like people are in the presence, sorry, Gail, of their grandmother. That's your son, I'm quoting, Steve. There's a big difference between that and being a pushover. She's smart, perceptive, and she can connect the dots. As Steve says, she almost has a sixth sense about things. And oh dear, does she ever. Ladies and gentlemen, my pleasure, I hope it's all of our pleasure, to please recognize the jewel, the giant, Gail Miller.
Well, Bowler Jack, I want to contradict you. We are going somewhere. We're going to the top, and we're going to get that championship. It's an honor to be here tonight. This is a big deal. Thank you very much. I've been around sports all my life, and I don't know that I've ever been to a gathering that had this many wonderful, experienced athletes and people who are working in the field of athletics and who do so much to enrich our lives. It's really interesting. I have had in my life many privileges, and one of those is being the owner of the Utah Jazz. There are only 30 owners. When we bought the Jazz, there were only 23. We knew that that was something very special and that it was something that needed to stay in Utah because it was an asset to our community. We had only been to 2 basketball games before we bought the Jazz, and that was because we were invited by Sam Battistone. But we were not, we were too busy building our business to go to basketball games. We had about 6 dealerships at the time. But right away, we understood the importance of having an NBA team in Utah, and we knew that it was a stewardship that we could not shy away from. I remember vividly the day that we became owners of the Jazz. We woke up early, and Larry had to go and talk with bankers to put together enough money to pay for the first half. It took all day long going back and forth from one institution to another and checking in with me periodically to let me know how it was going, and being discouraged and then being encouraged and then saying, this one pulled out, now I've got to go here and get more. He said, I'll meet you at the arena. There was a game that night. I'll meet you at the arena and I'll let you know with a thumbs up if it worked. So we got to I was worrying about it all day long. I actually wrote a journal entry that I couldn't find. I wanted to read to you just to give you a flavor of that day, but it was one of, for me, thinking, how are we going to do this? How are our lives going to change once we do this? How can we keep the Jazz in Utah? Fortunately, I had a lot of faith in the ability of Larry to do what he said he could do. And as he came into the arena that night, he gave me a thumbs up, and I knew everything was okay. We won that game by the largest margin of any game up to that point. We've won by higher margins since, but I think we won by 30 points that night, which was kind of a capstone to the events of that day. I take this responsibility very seriously of owning the Utah Jazz. It's something that belongs here. It belongs to all of you. It's something that brings us together. After we bought the Jazz, the next year we had to go through all of that again to buy the second half. Only the price had gone up by $4 million. So we had to worry again about how to get the money, how to pay the money back, how to live so that we could earn that money. But somehow we did it. And then, well, I should tell you that first year, The whole payroll for all of the players was $2 million. I don't know that you can get a rookie for that now. But we realized quickly that if we wanted to have a team that was going to make a mark, we had to have big-name players. We had to have people with talent. So it came to the point where we had to build an arena so that we had more seats to bring in more money to pay our players what we needed to pay to get those talented people. I want to read you an excerpt from Larry's dedication speech the night of the arena dedication. And this is something that resonates with me because I understand that having the Jazz in Utah is a unifier. It's something that brings us all together. It's something we can all get behind and be proud of. And we very intentionally make sure that our players are players that we can be proud of. And I think that shows through. We have great people that run the Utah Jazz and the rest of our businesses. But this day, Larry knew right from early on. He said, one of the most exciting elements of this building is that it should enhance our sense of community, regardless of whether one likes their college sports to be red or blue or some other color, regardless of race, age, gender, or persuasion. May every person that comes here enjoy and add to that spirit of community. One of my favorite things to do when I'm at the Jazz game is watch the crowd. I watch them on the Jumbotron, I watch them across the hall from me, I watch them in the concourse, and it's thrilling to see that they are enjoying being there and that they feel the things that we hoped they would feel, that they feel that sense of community and that sense of pride of being part of something so great as the Utah Jazz. Now, I know there are lots of other things that are important in life, but to me, this is one of the stewardships that I've been entrusted with that I will make sure will not go away and will be passed on to my children through the trust, and other generations to come will have the same opportunities that we've had to rejoice in the joy of having a team like the Utah Jazz. Thank you very much.
Our next inductee this evening is another wonderful lady, Denise Parker. Yes, a Bingham High School and Westminster College graduate who became an absolute legend in USA archery. Denise, at the age of 13, was the youngest archer ever to win a gold medal at the Pan Am Games. And at the age of 14, she was the youngest member of the 1988 U.S. Olympic team in Seoul, South Korea. Yes. We talked about this earlier. She also made an appearance on Sports Beat Sunday, highest ratings of all time. To go on with her accolades, she won a bronze medal at Seoul, then competed again in the 1992 Games in Barcelona, and once again in 2000 in Sydney. Her resume is so impressive. A 7-time national indoor champion, 5-time national outdoor champ, and bronze medalist in the 1989 World Championships. Denise just about did it all in the sport of archery. Always enjoying being a member of a team, Denise played high school basketball, softball at Bingham, and went on to play basketball at Southern Utah University. Ms. Parker has spent the majority of her professional career directing the efforts of the sport of archery, and now even works with all 50 of the Olympic Committee's national governing bodies. She told me tonight, Vice President of the NGB of Services for the USOC in Colorado Springs. Her exploits in archery are chronicled in the book, Denise Parker, A Teenage Archer's Quest for Olympic Glory. And this story about a girl who already was an Olympic veteran when she enjoyed one of the favorite days of her young life, getting her driver's license. And how about this? The other part of that day was having her braces removed. Denise, what a day. What a joy. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get to know three-time Olympian, archery's great Denise Parker.
I think I've decided after watching that video I'm going to have to do something more with my life so we don't have to go back to the 80s videos anymore. That's killing me. Imagine all the videos you've ever had go right back to when you were like 13, 14, and 15 years old. That's my new goal. I got to do something amazing. And speaking of, it's really tough to follow you, Gail. Like, that's amazing. Congratulations. And just congratulations to all the inductees. What an honor to be recognized along such incredible and amazing people. And so I will do my best, but that's a really tough act to follow. I'm just going to say that. And thank you to the Utah Sports Hall of Fame Foundation for this honor. It's so fun, if nothing else, to just see all my family together. That was so great to come back to Salt Lake and have everybody here and my extended Utah family. We moved about a year ago to Colorado Springs, so I'm really happy to be back in Utah for a bit. You heard a little bit about when I was 13 at the Pan Am Games and 14 when I won the bronze medal in the Seoul, Korea Games. And many people ask me, like, what was it like to be 14 and be in the Olympics, you know? And so a lot of my stories are about, like, that's pretty unique and pretty different, right? And unfortunately, my answer is sort of like, well, I just kind of thought I belonged. Like, that just seemed normal to me, you know, until I couldn't put the target up without some help from my competitors and things like that. So it was really unique opportunity. But I remember thinking at the time at 14 that I was really good because I had a lot of natural talent, because that's what people would say. I mean, you started at 12, you went to your first games at 14, like, you have a lot of natural talent. And the funny thing is as I get older, the younger 14 seems to get. And the more I realized that there was a whole lot more there than natural talent. It was a mixture of unconditional love and support from my family. It was having a father who believed in discipline and practice and perfection. So much so he took his 11-year-old daughter down and got her a tattoo on her hand so she could line it up in her bow. So we were a little intense. So, yeah. Possibly that, and not even me. Our whole family had to do it because we did everything as a family. That's what we did. So, but without him and all of his crazy ways, I know I wouldn't have ever been able to do something like this. It was having a community around me who helped when our finances were too much for the family to bear. Our community out in South Jordan came together, and I'll never forget, the whole neighborhood did a fundraiser for me to help me get to the games and to pay the costs of all the travel and everything that we had to do. And I'll never forget that and what that meant to me. And every coach I ever had, whether it was in archery or another sport, who believed in me and helped me to be the best I could be. So when you're 14, you kind of think it's all about you. 30 years later, when you're 45, you realize it's all about the community and the support that surrounds you and makes you successful. So tonight I want to thank my community, my Utah support group. Without all of you and extended beyond even this room, it's just would not have been possible. And I continue to feel this support today and just want to thank everybody in that world. I work for the U.S. Olympic Committee now, and I get to see many great athletes experience their own Olympic dream. And this hit very hard for me because I was in the games at 13 and 14 years old. But I've also, like many of you over the past year, have witnessed a really ugly side of sport, where coaches and individuals with power have abused vulnerable young athletes. Thankfully, I do not share their story, but it reminds me how hard we all must fight to keep sport participation the positive experience that we know it can be. Sport helps to instill discipline, and it teaches skills like hard work and teamwork. And it teaches us how to get back up when we fail, because we all fail at some point at something. Sports keeps kids active, and it can and it should be fun. That was one thing that I think was so great about my experience was I practiced really hard and I trained, and we were really competitive and focused around the Olympics. But I still got the experience to play high school sports, won a state championship with basketball, and I played 3 sports in high school. And I think that piece is so important. And to me, the idea of making sure that we keep sport fun and we keep sport safe and we take care of our young athletes, I think is really important. And I know that I was so lucky to have had that experience growing up. And I just really want that for the next 14-year-old or whoever comes along, that they have a fun, positive sport experience that I know is possible. I want to thank, again, my team, my family, my friends, the coaches over the years, the incredible support structure of this community. Thank you so much. And let's never watch those videos again, can we? Can we? I gotta get something else, but thank you. Thank you so much.
Our next inductee is the Pride of Tooele. Yeah. And also many other football organizations. Mr. Ron Rydalch. Ron played 6 seasons with the Chicago Bears as a defensive lineman, in really an era when reaching the NFL was a major achievement for a Utah native. Think about that. Ron was a 3-year starter for the U, earning second-team All-WAC as a sophomore. That's when he was agile enough to return an interception for 44 yards. Remember that? Long time ago. He may or may not have been caught just short of the goal line. You can ask him if you like. Injuries. It's part of sport. They did take their toll during his junior year with the Utes, but coaches figured that playing a one-legged Rydalch was better than no Rydalch at all, according to the media guide. Now, as a healthy senior, Ron returned to top form. He was named WAC Lineman of the Year for a 7-5 Ute team that finished the year with a victory over powerful Arizona in Coach Bill Meek's final season. Let's move on to the NFL, because Rydalch was drafted in the 8th round by the New York Jets, but joined the Houston Texans and the Shreveport Steamers of the World Football League, where he was listed among the WFL's Diamonds in the Rough. Many players use the WFL as a springboard to the NFL, including Ron Rydalch. In his 6 seasons in Chicago, number 76 proved to be both durable and productive. He started all 14 games. The year was 1977. The year he led the Bears with 9.5 sacks. In what may be a record for a defensive lineman. Ron was presented the Chicago Bears game ball 4 times during his career from 1975 to 1980. Football fans and proud Utahns, please welcome and let's get to know the sack man from the Chicago Bears, Ron Rydalch.
Take my time, all right. We've had 2 fine speeches, and I'm sitting over there thinking, well, we're in the state of Utah. We got 2 motivational speakers coming up, so I guess I got to be the pothole so you know you are in Utah. So we'll see where we can get. I've got notes here for a speech if I start going blank on you, and I got names here in case I forget my own and a few other ones I hope to mention here. So let's see if we can get started someplace. Back in the 1970s, when I was still playing football for the Chicago Bears, hey, I'm just giving a couple of you a couple more seconds to work through the cobwebs to get that far back, but we're moving on. Mr. Fred Ball, a prominent Utah businessman and an avid supporter of this organization, somehow, some way, with some mighty fancy talking, convinced this feller that has hermit blood running through his veins that he needed to come in and attend one of these banquets. I guess I better slow up and speak a little plainer. But anyway, it was a fine banquet. All the inductees was honored, and they was well deserving of the award they got that night. And after the banquet, Mr. Ball brought Gifford Nielsen and his dad over and introduced them to me. Now, for those of you who don't know who Gifford Nielsen is, he played quarterback for that school that's down there by that toxic algae lake. Now, I'm not trying to infer there's any correlation there, but when you start getting unicorns prancing around on TV, all options are left on the table. Now, for those of you who still don't know where I'm talking about, it's located in Utah County. Now, I know you're sitting there, what's he hollering Utah out for? Listen, the rule of thumb is anytime you mention the word Utah in any place near that other school, you got to let people know which one's the dominating force. End of that. Mr. Ball told Mr. Gifford Nielsen and myself that it would be wise, key word here, wise, on our part to support this organization because just maybe someday we might be inducted, to both of us. Well, Gifford was inducted in the early 90s. Me, I thanked the man for his kind thoughts, but the whole time I'm sitting there looking at him and thinking, man, you must have been drinking a lot of that Magna water lately or spending too much time in the parking lot sucking in fumes, because there is no way that a common, ordinary guy like me would ever be in the class that these other people inducted here tonight. So, and that's been my thing. I've always been in the survival mode at every level I've ever played at. I've had to compensate for the abilities I couldn't make up for, but when you got lack of speed, there's just no way of compensating for that. Anytime they did any timed events, I'd have to keep looking at the ground to see if the real estate was changing or if I was still standing in the same spot. And they didn't even bother wheeling out no sundial for me. It was just easier, just write down real slow. So here we sit here tonight, some way, somehow, some way. I don't care how the stars aligned, what phase the moon was in. I got to speak a little plainer here, getting the dry mouth, but that I'm just very heartfelt thankful that this committee decided to put me in. I don't care if they snuck me in the side door, the back door, or they had to go find an old root cellar to bring me through the trap door. I'm very thankful. But as thankful as that way, this part of, you got to get up and give a speech, nah, not so much. And I got to give a shout out to Bruce Woodbury, wherever he's at. Here's a man that worked in the sports information department up at the University of Utah. And he's trying to promote a guy as something new and exciting, and he had high-top shoes on and looked like he belonged in the program from 20 years earlier. But he did a fine job with what he had to work with. Now, I got to tell you, back in June, I'd spent the day working in the garage. Well, I got the look already. Back in June, I spent most of the day in the garage doing something. When my wife came home and come up to me and she says, "You've been inducted in the Utah Sports Hall of Fame." And I said, "Who, me?" And I'm sitting there, well, that's pretty nice. Just like a big fat rat in a trap eating a piece of cheese. You're in seventh heaven for a minute. And the next thing I know, oh, and you got to get up and give a speech. I thought, well, that's great. Here's a guy that's got a snow cap on top of the mountain, ice formations going on, already showing early signs of CTE. For those of you that don't know, CT is chronic traumatic, well, here we go, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. That's one of them fancy encephal words. Hey, I chased too many parked cars in my youth. Just write it off to that. But that was the second thing. And the third thing that hit me, I thought, you know, as ornery as you are, as much a recluse as you are, you're going to have to at least hire 3 homeless people to fill up one table to come out and support you. And I don't know what the sales team at Richard Valdez, Susan Rydalch, assisted by Lori Waters Argyle and Evan Excel and others. If I got 4 names close to right, I'm not going any farther. To get close to 100 people out here to support me, they should have been selling swampland out in the desert if they can get away with that. And I appreciate all the ones that's come tonight. I mean, I had a nephew and a niece fly out from New York. That's a long ways away. I had my high school football coach come up from California, and I appreciate that. We had a fine visit this morning. I had my cousin coming down from Idaho, who was a quarterback for the Utes in the early 50s, who tried to recruit me to Rick's. And then he was temporary offensive coordinator to that Toxic Lake School. He tried to recruit me down there. And I appreciate everybody that's come out to support me. I'm always going to remember it. It's going to be close to my heart, and I appreciate you taking the time. Like I said, you had to have a pothole in the middle of this road. Now you're going to have two fine speakers coming up, so that should have kept you awake for at least a couple of minutes. Thank you.
Our fourth inductee this evening is a first for the Utah Sports Hall of Fame, and they rejoice in this occasion. Mr. Mike Schlappi, a graduate of Mountain View High School and BYU, is the first paraplegic athlete to ever be inducted. Yes. Mike was a four-time Paralympic medalist in basketball. Shot Happens is his autobiography, telling the story of how he accidentally was shot in the chest and paralyzed at the young age of 15. And that happened in Orem, and he was a promising athlete. Mike channeled his athletic efforts in becoming the best in the wheelchair tennis. He won the U.S. Open tennis titles in both singles and doubles, and in basketball, where he truly became a legend. Mike earned gold medals in the 1988 Paralympic Games in Seoul. He did that again in Barcelona in 1992. He added bronze medals in the Olympics in Atlanta in 1996, and then once again in Sydney in 2000. Schlappi was inducted in the National Wheelchair Basketball Hall of Fame in 2008 and was honored as one of the top 50 players of all time. There's more. Mike went on to earn an MBA from Arizona State and then became a professional inspirational speaker. His mantra, quote, "If you can't stand up, stand out." Mike's unusual message, "I'm just a normal guy," seemed difficult to understand when he was injured, but it all depends on how you look at things, according to his mom. He's the point guard and captain of the U.S. basketball team, wears number 12, owns 2 gold medals. Sound familiar? Mike even looks like John Stockton. You ever sweat? The great Stock and the great Mike are in here in the house. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the Paralympic gold medalist, Mike Schlappi.
Thank you. It's an honor. My heart's full. I grew up down by a lake with algae. Lots of orchards, lots of potholes, but life was awesome. My thoughts as I was informed that I'm going to be here this evening were about all the moments that have led to this evening. Small moments that created this large moment for me. And I reflected a little bit deeper about how those moments created opportunities. And with opportunities, we have choices. And then I thought about all these folks over here, around these 7 or 8 tables, my peeps that are here tonight. Thank you. Each of those moments and opportunities had one of them there who believed in me. They'd carry me, they'd lift me, they'd push me. My dad had kicked my butt. My dad was my coach as a young boy. He was a high school basketball coach. Where are you, Dad? And he dragged me to Richfield High School. I fell in love with the sound of a gymnasium, the whistles, the cheerleaders, the play. I loved it. I loved sports as a young man. Thanks, Dad. Mom. She was always there for me, win or lose. She was my foundation, my North Star. She was always my cheerleader, always on my team. And that's where it all started for me as a young man. And I won't go through everybody's name, but my brother Scott. We were teammates. We were just this tall, back in the days of long socks and short shorts at the Armory in Provo. And my brother Scott taught me to be tough. He let me play with his friends. They're a little bit older than me. Some of them are here tonight. We shared a bedroom. We shared a bed. He'd kick me out of the bed. But Scott taught me to be tough. And my other siblings, they're right over there. The Schlappi family loves basketball. We were reflecting the other day. My siblings have played in 6 or 7 state championship games around the great state of Utah, all those trips, all those gymnasiums. We love basketball. So thanks to my siblings for always being there for me. And then that day, that Veterans Day all those years ago, when I thought I lost it all, I thought I'd permanently be on the disabled list. I got shot. Didn't know if I was going to live. Well, I had a choice. That was an opportunity for me to head that way or head that way, to blame my friend for shooting me and be mad at God, or pick it up and join the winning team, and I decided to do the latter. And I got back to living, and there was a turning point for me, one of those aha moments, Orem High School. Joel Gardner was the coach. I was supposed to be one of his star players. My brother Scott, one of the great players. They're out there, and I'm sitting up in the wheelchair section. And I cried through that whole game. And I wanted to be out there, the team, the cheerleaders. And I had all these negative labels on me that night. Disabled, handicapped, crippled, different, Lakers. That's for you, Dave. Sorry, we're at a jazz thing here tonight. And I thought, I've got to get on with living or I've got to get on with dying. And I got on with living. And living to me meant getting involved in sports, and in particular, wheelchair basketball. And the great Mike Johnson, he's here tonight. I love you, Mike. Served our country, lost his legs in our country. He came to the hospital, the rehab center, and he drugged me out to live my life. He showed me I could drive, get married, have a job, be a man, and play wheelchair basketball. And it got in my blood. And then we started the Wheelin' Jazz in 1990. Many of my teammates were over here. The Wheelin' Jazz. Think of those road trips, guys, to Vegas. The airplanes, the hotel rooms. We're on those airplanes. They tell us to remain seated. You know, just all the stuff we've been through. I love my teammates. They've all had situations just like this, and they're stand-up kind of people. I love you guys. Thanks for believing in me, trusting me to coach you now. And I love the Wheelin' Jazz. Thank you to the Utah Jazz for allowing us to wear your name around the great state of Utah, to represent you. It's a pleasure to be here with the Miller family. And we're a great part of the National Wheelchair Basketball Association. We've been ranked in the top 20 for most of the last 20 years, a couple of Final Fours. We're proud of the Utah Wheelin' Jazz. And then that led to the Paralympic Games. 4 games. Denise and Bill, you know what it's like to wear the red, the white, and the blue, not just represent a city or represent a state, but the whole country. It's amazing. I remember the flag raised, the national anthem, the gold medals, the bronze medals, a tear in your eye. My dad, I thought, my dad's right. I can still be a great athlete. I'll just have to do it a little bit differently. So thanks to Coach Frank Burns for trusting me in 1988, and Dave Kiley for bringing my name forth as the youngest member on that team in 1988. It's just been a privilege to represent our country in wheelchair basketball. Well, my family, right here, table 2, my wife, Tammy. Behind every athlete, I believe there's incredible people, and Tammy, thanks for believing in me, for living life with a guy in a wheelchair, dealing with my passion for sports, for coming to Sydney in 2000 when I knew it was the end, and you were there to support me, and the whole team's chanting your name. I love you. Thank you, Tam. And my kids, they're all here. Matt, Megan, Joseph, Mackenzie, and Anna, some of their spouses. I love you guys. They didn't know me when I was on my feet, but they've accepted me in my wheelchair and all my other disabilities. And our daughter, Anna's pregnant. Our first grandchild's coming in December. Yeah, and I don't need that to remind me that I'm well past my prime, the good old days. So thank you. And right over here, Joel and Terry, Thank you so much for nominating me, bringing my name forth. Great coaches, great men, right there. The committee, thanks for accepting my nomination. You know, I just want to accept this evening with, I guess, a reminder that tonight is a moment for all of us, an opportunity for every one of us tonight to recommit to putting our belief and our support behind some young athlete in our world or in our family. And to me, that's what I will promise to do to you tonight, is to continue to go back into this great state of Utah and give back, not only to disabled sports and athletics, but to incredible people like my nephew Colton over here and the Holker family that's here to support me. Our nephew Dallin plays tight end for BYU. Where's Ron? Anyway, but tonight it's just a privilege for you. And thanks again, Mom and Dad. And thanks, Mom, for giving me that motto as a young kid and reminding me in my life that just because I can't stand up doesn't mean I can't stand out. Thank you very much. It's been my privilege being here.
Well, here we are. Last, but certainly not least this evening, we have the legend from Roy High School. Yes, Roy High School, Mr. Bill Schuffenhauer. Bill became a three-time All-American decathlete at Weber State University. He set the record in the Big Sky Conference decathlete competition and went on to compete in the World University Games. He also won gold and silver in the Junior Nationals. Now, these credentials alone would have certainly qualified this young man for tonight's honor, but career-ending injuries in track and field while training for the 2000 Olympics only ignited Schuffenhauer's desire to achieve stardom. So let me explain. Starting a new career in the winter sport of bobsledding, Bill quickly caught on, and by the 2002 Winter Olympics here in Salt Lake City, he became a silver medalist in the four-man bobsled. What a story? Yes, but he also won 2 silvers and then a bronze medal in the World Championships, in addition to competing in the 2006 and the 2010 Winter Olympics. Against All Odds, it was a documentary series commissioned by the International Olympic Committee, chronicles stories of aspiring athletes who had to overcome great obstacles to get to the Olympic Games. Bill Schuffenhauer was one of those featured in those stories. Quote, "I feel 100% confident saying that sports saved my life," Bill once told Ogden's Standard Examiner. In advance of his third appearance in the Olympics, Bill reflected, quote, "I knew that there was something better, and although there was a lot of horrible things that had happened, it made me a stronger person," end quote. Well, indeed it did, and it's happened tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, the Olympic bobsledding hero, Bill Schuffenhauer.
Oh, Denise, you thought I was hard going after Gail. Try going after the 4 of you and all that story. And Ron, thanks for your comedy up here. That kind of helped me like relax. But then it showed the video and told me what it's all going to be about. And I knew coming into this moment, it was going to be filled with emotion. As Mike said, my heart's full, but my heart is kind of overflowing in this moment in time. And so one of us had to do this to you, and this is going to happen the whole time, just so you know. The moment has been surreal. I'm kind of living in a moment right now where a lot of things are kind of happening in my life that now I have an opportunity to reflect back on all those little things, you know, as even Mike said, the little things that got you to where you are. And to come in here today and see all the people that have been there either from day one or somewhere along the road, I've shared these moments with. And my good friend Eric for nominating me for something that he's always saying you deserve it, and I'm just a down-to-earth guy, and you probably heard a few of us kind of talk about that. and to realize that I'm on the platform with some of the most inspirational people, not only athletes, but Gail and what she's done and her family for this state. To be able to share this moment with my brother, who's been one of my biggest fans through thick and thin, from the times that I try to put him in a pillowcase as a baby and run away from a foster home, but then I realized he was too heavy for me to carry in a pillowcase. You know, back in 2002, after we had an opportunity to represent our country and win the first medal in 46 years, I knew that something special had really happened. And I honestly think to this day I don't really realize what that really is yet. But I had an opportunity to go and speak in front of a group of executives at Verizon Wireless in Chicago. And a gentleman at the end, all raising their hands, and he says, "Aren't you just really upset and disappointed with the lifestyle that your mom put you through?" Now, growing up as a kid in Salt Lake City in 17 different foster homes and living on the streets and eating out of garbage cans, I stood there on stage in front of about 5,000 people, what seemed like forever, because I didn't know how to reply to that. And eventually, it just came out. I said, you know what, if it wasn't for the things that my mom put me through, I wouldn't be the man I am today. And I think that really shocked people, because in our time and this day and age, we have so many kids out there that utilize excuses to not be successful. Again, like Mike said, you might not be able to stand, but there's no reason why you can't stand out. And I'm not verbatim Mike, but several years ago, I wanted to come up with an idea that kind of really talks about why I did what I did. Why did I take the road less traveled? Why did I take a road that was hard? Why did I take a road that no one ever expected me to ever accomplish? And I came up with the saying that basically goes like this: if in our lifetime we can motivate and inspire those around us and those that cross our paths to do something that motivates, inspires around us, then in this lifetime we've done something amazing. And that was my whole goal growing up. I didn't know I was going to go to the Olympics. I knew I wanted to go to the Olympics. But it wasn't about me. It wasn't about Billy. It wasn't about how I grew up. But it was about the people that I wanted to help make a difference in their life. Whether they came from a great background or a background of poverty, I wanted other kids out there, whether it was a girl or a boy, to understand that they could accomplish anything they want. And some of you know my story very well. We've heard it, some of you, a lot. Some of my coaches have been getting lots of questions and asking for videos and stuff like that recently. But one of my biggest inspirations, and I'm so thankful and proud I get to share it with him today, is that I knew when I was a young age that I wanted to be something that my kids looked up to and said, "That's my dad. He's done something special." And I'm so thankful that I get to have my 13-year-old son, just turned 13 on the 13th of October, and we're sitting at table 13. Happy birthday. But I'm so thankful to be able to have him here and share this moment with him. You know, the road was a hard road, and it's no different than any of these other stories in here. And I'm sure there's hundreds of us in here that have amazing stories of accomplishing something great in your life. But these are the stories that make us great to help inspire those around us as well. I know my coaches, and it's been absolutely amazing to see all the people that are actually here. My coaches, my friends, teammates, and so many other people that I've seen around here that have just been a huge part of my inspiration to keep pushing when it sometimes seems like you will just want to stop. Thank you. I can't tell you guys how thankful I am to have you here and to see how you've actually impacted and inspired my life through the years to get to where I am. I'm now in an amazing spot right now where I'm retired. I still have people ask me if I go bobsledding, but no. 6 G-forces of pressure doesn't do well on your body too often. And Ron knows that. He put some G-forces on people through their whole career, so they know how that feels. But I'm in a place of reflection a lot right now where I've done a lot of reflection on the past and those little steps that got me to where I am. And then having that goal and that dream of competing, you know, in my own hometown, same place that I ate out of the McDonald's garbage can on 13th Street. And I could look up and realize that those Olympic rings that were sitting in the mountains in 2002 is the same place that I grew up on the streets. A lot of reflection helps me to appreciate everything that I've accomplished and helps me to appreciate all the people that have helped me accomplish that as well. I can't say enough about all my friends and families and people that I will look to see and have an experience to meet them along the way. I'm excited as well. Hall of Fame, I still feel like I'm dreaming, so if I look like a deer in headlights right now, that's exactly what I feel like. But part of my goal is I always wanted to get to a point too where I get to be on the other side and help other Olympic athletes and Paralympic athletes. And I've already hit up Mike and Denise already. As just recently I got voted in as a new president of the Utah Olympians and Paralympians Association. And here in Utah, as we know, back in 2000, we had a massive influx of Olympic athletes moving here and Paralympic athletes moving to the state of Utah to train. And I think there's a lot of things that we could do to collaborate, engage our community with our Olympic athletes, and just help out in any way we can. I had about 4,000 other things that I wanted to say, but I'm going to just say thank you to everyone here again. Thank you to the board. Thank you for coming and doing the video. That was more than what I expected. And if I may, I want to kind of pass something on to my son if we can. Can I just go grab it? I just want to grab it. Yeah. Yeah, can I? Yeah. So, okay, so if my son will come up here. I just want to tell him how proud I am of him and how he motivates and inspires me as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, touching, beautiful moment. Bill Schuffenhauer. What an incredible night. Incredible individuals. The Hall of Fame is better for them all. And I'm proud to be a part of it. Thank you for being here. Right now, let me turn this back over to a great friend, Norma Carr.
Thanks, Buller, for making the evening special for all of us. I know we're at the end, and I know that you're anxious to leave or take pictures or talk to the inductees, but bear with me for just a minute. What a special evening. Congratulations to the class of 2018. Let's give them one more round. What you're seeing on the screen is when we took pictures earlier of the group, and there's a card on your table. If you wish to download any of the photos, that tells you where you can go to do that, and if you want any printed off, you can go to that website. Last year at this time, we celebrated our foundation's 50th anniversary, and with this current group of inductees, we now have 232 Hall of Famers in the Utah Sports Hall of Fame. And this has been since our charter members went in 1970. I, at this time, would like to recognize, this picture you see was taken at our gala a year ago. We have some of our former Hall of Famers here, and if they would stand when I read their name: Ron McCall, Phil Johnson, Dave Craigthorpe, Doug Toole, Elaine Michaelis, Ron McBride, Chris Hislop, Manny Hendrick, Tom Holmo. Stay standing for a minute. And if there's anybody that I missed that's also in the hall, will you please stand? Let's give these former Hall of Famers respect. We also unfortunately want to acknowledge that we lost 3 of our Hall of Famers this last year, John Huntsman, Terry Nish, and Ann Valentine. And we hope that their stories will be on the Stories in the Vault soon. The Utah Sports Hall of Fame has a 3-pronged mission. One is to honor the past, that's what we've done today. Award the future. We award 6 to 8 scholarship every year to high school seniors. And lead the present with our Coaches Leadership Symposium, which will go on for the first time, called Love of Sport. We are using our inductees to present and to share and hope to capture some of the things that you heard and inspire future coaches, which will be the leading the present. We're also in the process of preparing a new facility. Happens to be in Gail's garage. Can we get the picture of our facility? Now her garage is one level or a couple levels below us. We're going to try and preserve Utah heritage and our history at the highest level in this facility. We'll be displaying the Stories of the Vault, which you heard 5 of them tonight. And if you wish to know more, you can see a few more that we've got on our website. They're very inspiring and very inspirational. We hope to be opening this facility shortly after January. So watch for the home of the Utah Sports Hall of Fame Foundation. I would invite you to learn more about us, who we have honored, join us in future events, see our stories in the vaults, even become a Utah Sports Hall of Fame Foundation member would be helpful. You can do all of this if you go to our website, which is pictured on the screen. As we conclude tonight, I would invite the inductees, your family, friends, or anybody, if you wish to use the photo screen and take some other shots with people that are here, I would invite you to feel free to do that. Now, finally, thank yous. I want to thank some of the people that you see here at the head table. Becky Anderson, Rich Valdez, our Banquet Committee, for their putting on together this fantastic event and production tonight. Doug Toole, over here to my left. He was the chair of the Hall of Fame Selection Committee, and when my tenure ends, he gets to be the president in another year and a half. Thanks for bringing us the selection of these fine inductees tonight, Doug. Joel Gardner and his wife, Joyce. Joel handled our program and our awards. Thank you very much, Joel. 2 other quick thank yous, Dave Norquist and Becky Anderson for doing the ticketing and the seating, and an anonymous donor, thank you for being able to make it possible for us to present the rings and pendants every year. And if you'll notice, inductees, the stone cut in the middle of the ring and the pendant is the state stone of topaz, and that's how come you have what you have. This brings us to the end of a great evening. I'm so pleased that you all stayed and watched everybody's video and enjoyed the evening. Thank you for coming, and drive safely.